Hello, this is Celia Johnson Online, your host for today. Thank you for joining me today on another podcast. Today I have a special guest. Her name is Kathryn Colas. Kathryn has worked as an independent menopause expert for the last 4 years. She has been experiencing her own health challenges for a decade leading up to menopause. Today, Kathryn will be covering the topic of the 7 Dwarfs of menopause. Mm-hmm. Right. Hello, Kathryn.
Hello. Good morning, Celia.
How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very much looking forward to this.
Yes, I'm looking forward to this topic. And there's quite a few people that I'm sure it will help. Right. So can we start? Can you just tell me, first of all, where you was born?
Yes, I was born in Bournemouth in Dorset in the southern part of the United Kingdom.
And what schooling did you have?
Well, when I was about 3, we moved up to London, and I just had normal primary, secondary school education. I left school at 16 and started to work as a junior shorthand typist in London.
And what jobs did you have before becoming an health expert?
Well, my husband and I had our own business. We still do. We have a country house hotel, and I was very much involved with that, and working with your husband on a daily basis. Even though we have very different complementary skills, it always spills over into home life, and ultimately that became a bit difficult for me.
Right. How did you develop your skill that you're known for now?
Well, it was when I was working with my husband, I was having these awful symptoms, experiencing just strange feelings, really, not feeling myself, getting angry, not being able to concentrate. And I didn't know what it was. I thought it had something to do with the fact that I had a young baby and I was working full time, and that may have contributed to that. But I subsequently realized that I was perimenopausal. And then I eventually resigned from my job because I just couldn't cope anymore. I couldn't do it. I couldn't concentrate on anything. I couldn't do anything properly. I kept forgetting things. And the pressure of having a school-age child and the pressure that brings during school holidays of having to work out who's going to care for her, childcare in the school holidays, was just too much for me. So I resigned from my job. My husband wasn't very happy about it, but he got used to it eventually. And so, and I didn't realize also at the time that I was suffering from mild depression. And I just didn't want to leave the house. So my computer became my best friend, and I started researching about hormonal health because I didn't get much information from the doctor. And from that, somebody told me about a menopause conference that was going on in London, and I now go to that every year. But the first time I went to that, I was scribbling notes madly about all this information. And that's when it suddenly dawned on me that all these doctors, specialists know so much about menopause and how it's affecting women. So why isn't it getting down to the GP level? Why isn't it getting down to us, the women that are experiencing all these what can be destructive symptoms? So that's when I set about creating a website as a support and advice mechanism where women could go and look for information on the various aspects of the symptoms they were experiencing. So there's now a 200-page website, simplyhormones.com, where anybody can go and find the information they're looking for.
All right. So, Kathryn, many of us already know about hot flushes and night sweats. I know from talking to you that there are many others. Can you please enlighten us?
Yes, there are perhaps over 30 symptoms of menopause. When I found that information on an American website a few years ago, and it was a eureka moment for me because there it was in black and white. I wasn't making this up. I printed it off. I showed my husband and said, look here, look at this information. I'm not making it up. And so then I started to have a bit more support from him because men are just, just don't understand. They understand even less than the women do. So it's a very difficult journey.
Great. All right. So I'm so exciting. Shall we go through the 7 dwarfs of menopause?
Yes. Yep. Let's do that. I would like to start just by saying, actually, that the change to our hormones when we go into perimenopause does start around the age of 35. And not a lot of women know that. They think it starts at 51, but that's when you're finishing. That's when you are actually menopausal, no more periods. And so women are thinking that they've still got a long way to go before anything starts, but they will start to notice changes around the age of 40, perhaps a bit more the age of 45, and then it sort of what goes into what I call a tsunami, where it can be overwhelming for the next 5 years or so. And then gradually it can, the symptoms will decline from 51 onwards. But for some women, it doesn't even start until they're postmenopausal. So when you think you've just cruised through the whole thing, you then start to feel some symptoms and you wonder what's going on. So let's just run through the 7 dwarfs of menopause.
Great.
Everybody knows the Disney cartoon. I'm pretty sure you can all have that image in your minds. And somebody sent me an email. Well, they keep sending it to me, actually. And it's got names to those 7 dwarfs. And some of our listeners may even have seen it. And those names are itchy, bitchy, sweaty, bloaty, sleepy, forgetful, and my favourite, psycho.
That's great.
Yeah. Now, I use this image when I'm doing my presentations, and so many women immediately it affects them. They say, yes, I can tick all those boxes, because whether they're experiencing PMS, postmental, oh
mine.
dear, take that bit out, yeah. Premenstrual stress, they can identify with some of those subjects. And what happens as you at perimenopause is that premenstrual stress starts to happen more regularly. It's not monthly anymore. It could be weekly and sometimes daily. So is it any wonder that we think we're going mad if you're experiencing all those different symptoms?
I'm experiencing them
at one time.
I'm experiencing. I talked about that post-mental. Well, that's me. I had an experience just the other week. I was in the office at work and I was crying my eyes out. I said, why am I crying? I just finished my class. Nobody had talked to me nasty. The class was great. I had fun. So I thought, let me go. I have at the reception, there's the owner. She's a lot older, and she's about 10 years older than me. So I thought I'd go and ask for some advice. So I said, Deanna, please, can you tell me? I said, I'm crying, but I don't know. Maybe it might be menopause because it's been happening a lot to me lately. No. She says, I've never had that symptom. So, as I say, I Googled it, and I was thinking of you, Kathryn, and I thought, and like you said, I didn't realise there were so many symptoms. And the one that it was, moodiness, crying, and I thought, all right. And again, like you said, I felt a lot better when I knew where I was coming from.
That's right. Yeah. If you like, I'll just run through those different names and just elaborate a bit more on them. I started with itchy. That's of course vaginal itching, and it can, because the pH balance is changing in the vagina at this stage. Apparently the area likes to be quite acid, and it just changes. Even with sexual intercourse, you notice that there'll be some changes afterwards. And I don't mind talking about it because I know it's a subject that it's very embarrassing to discuss. And for me, when I've had intimacy with my husband, I do start to get thrush. And so now I understand it better myself. But something good for that is just plain old yogurt. Believe it or not, when somebody said it to me, I thought you were joking. But so I tried it. I got my little bowl of yogurt and a tampon. Just put the tampon in the yogurt and insert it overnight, and over 2 or 3 nights, and it really does change that balance, because there's the acidity in the yogurt that helps adjust the pH levels again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's amazing, really, isn't
yeah.
it? A simple thing. And then, of course, bitchy, that's your mood swings. And I think most of us can relate to that over our lives with monthly periods. But especially at menopause, it just seems to grow and just become a greater problem on a daily basis, and we don't recognize as women that we're doing it. And it's a bit like teenagers going through their hormonal changes. They don't recognize that they're being so nasty, and we don't recognize it either. And so it's a very difficult one to understand. Sweaty, I think lots of people know about. Sweats, night sweats, they can happen during the day, but also some people get it much worse than others. And I read stories, and I've spoken to women, they have to change their bed linen, they are sweating really quite profusely, and even some women will sleep in a different room because they feel they're disturbing their partner too much during the night because they have to have a shower. So it's a very difficult one to deal with, and it always makes me laugh, the advice you read about: wear cotton clothing, sit near, have a well ventilated room, and all these things. And you think, that's obvious to a blind man, but it doesn't help. What can I do about it? And I think it's stress levels, our own stress levels are building and building at this time, and we've just got to start saying no more often and just try and adjust those stress levels and have our calm moments to see if that can help. And yes, wear the cotton clothing and all the other things they say. And sleepy, our sleep patterns are often interrupted. Number one, because you might be sweating, but it's that hormonal change again. It affects contact with the brain, and things just aren't right. So it's affecting our daily pattern generally. You might feel more tired during the day. Yes, you say, because I haven't slept well last night, but not always. It's this hormonal thing, and sleeping patterns do change. And I think it's a case of finding yourself a good supplement. If you don't want to go on HRT, a good supplement can help you overcome some of that. And forgetful. I think so many of us don't understand that particular one. And you think that you're at the starting stages of Alzheimer's. I know I thought it too. And I really investigated this particular matter, because that's the last thing you want when in your 40s and 50s, to think that you're a candidate for Alzheimer's. But again, it's those hormones. They're not making the right connections because they're undergoing a period of extreme change, and you do forget things. It's temporary, although I must admit I do make notes, and my worst thing is not remembering people. Not remembering their faces, and I feel so awful. And they come up to me and say, "Oh, hi, Kathryn, blah, de, blah, de, blah." And I think, oh my God, who is this person? And so what I do now is, when I'm talking to somebody who I think is of particular interest to me that I'm going to meet again, I try to make a proper mental note of their face. And I write down who they are and what they do. And it's just this hormonal thing again. And it does get better. Then again, sometimes you take a couple of steps back. And I know for my own self that that's down to stress, taking on too much and doing too many things. And then that's when the memory plays tricks on you. So you've just got to try and be calmer. Yeah. And then we go into the last one, psycho. Because yes, with all those symptoms going on, you do feel as if you've gone nuts. But it's this feeling of not coping as well. I don't know if you've had that, Celia, this feeling that I just can't do this anymore.
Yeah, I have. Sometimes I'm wondering, what am I doing here? Do I like? I live in Holland at the moment, and I'm just feeling, I think I need to leave. What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? And yes. I'm so confused. And yeah, like I said, I seem sometimes like I'm just walking around on a wheel.
Yes.
So, but as I said, we're talking to you and listening to this, I see a few symptoms that crops up with me.
You
Yeah, I
recognise,
do really
yes.
recognise.
And I think you mentioned there, you're thinking about, where am I? What am I
Mm,
doing? Do I need to make changes? And even just having those questions can be quite scary. And you say, why am I thinking these things? It's never
yes.
happened
Yeah,
before.
exactly.
It's a time of such complete change. And all I can say is there is life, a light at the end of the tunnel. And you may be feeling 1 degree under, shall we call it, for some considerable time. And you get used to feeling 1 degree under. That you forget what it's like to feel well. And then all of a sudden, a, a lightness dawns and you start to feel better. And you think, hey, this isn't bad. This is what it feels like to be well. But you also go through that process of, as you've just said, questioning yourself why you're on this planet and what you're here for.
Yeah.
And so many women change jobs at this time, change careers, can do completely different things. Like I did, for instance. I started doing this business with Simply Hormones, and I do it full time. It's my full-time job, and I just love it. It's the best thing I've ever done. And other women, there are so many women going out there and doing different things now. Because they just feel they need to make a change.
Yeah, exactly. I'm also, as I said, I've been in the fitness industry, but exactly same as you. I've thought I've changed and started my online business. Exactly
Yes.
the same.
Yeah.
Right, Kathryn, what are the women's choices to overcome these different feelings?
Yes, I like women to have choices. I think the most difficult thing if women are trying to go through menopause naturally is finding the right professional person to help them, because I really don't advise people going down to the local health food shop and just filling up their basket with, I don't know, black cohosh, red clover, different things, because they don't know what quantities to take. They don't know how to take it, whether with a meal, whether to take all these different things together or separately. So, and in the end, it doesn't work, and you feel of it as if it's a total waste of money. I've done it myself, and I know lots of other women do it. So I always recommend people find a professional, either I don't know, a homeopath or anybody that's dealing with natural products. And then, of course, there's still the choice of HRT. And HRT has had a bad press for years, but I think what a lot of people still don't realise was that the Million Women study was just that. It was a study. And they were just looking at a certain group of women. And that group of women were all postmenopausal. And when you reach that age, between the age of 50 and 60, whether you take, if you don't take HRT, 15 more women than the general population will get the symptoms of breast cancer. And if you're taking HRT, that number just increases by 3. So it's all relative. And yes, you must do it, take HRT or look at taking HRT in full consultation with your doctor, and ask all the questions under the sun, and don't be embarrassed about asking questions, and even take somebody with you, because I know, and lots of other women tell me, they go to the doctors and they understand everything that's being said to them while they're there. They walk out the door and they're completely forgotten. And I think it's the stress of being in the surgery and trying to understand everything that's being told to you. But some women, if they're climbing the walls, they find that HRT just suits them. And I don't think we should condemn anybody for taking pharmaceutical drugs. If it works for you, then go ahead with it. But so many women are wanting to do it naturally. I think it's a long road, and you need to start on that road sooner rather than later, because the symptoms really can be so overwhelming. You don't know what to do with yourself.
Yes.
So seek out a specialist in whichever chosen pathway that you want to take, and don't try and do it alone.
Yeah, that's exactly, you hit the nail on. Horses for courses at the end of the day, isn't it?
It is, yes. Yeah. And I think it's all about choice.
It is. Right, I think that's great. That's a lot of information you covered there. What I'd love to know about, what are your future plans?
Well, I think next time we meet, Celia, it might be a good idea to discuss mental health and depression, because I've got a lot of experience of that myself. It happened to me, and I couldn't believe it when I was told. I thought, me? How could I? I'm too busy to be depressed. But depression affects women going through menopause 4 times greater than the national average. And so lots of women are experiencing these very strange feelings of being in a dark place that they just don't know how to get out of. So I think it'd be interesting to discuss that in more detail.
So how can people contact you? And can you tell us your website address?
Yes, yeah. Certainly, it's all the W's, simplyhormones.com, and it's got my email details on there and telephone details, and I do telephone consultations. So if you've got Skype, wherever you are in the world, I'd be delighted to have a consultation with you to help you just come to terms with what's happening to you, because we're all different. We share very similar symptoms, but we react to them differently. So, yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, simplyhormones.com, that's where you find all the information.
All right, so they've got lots of information there that they can take away with them.
Yes.
All right, Kathryn, I think that was fantastic. I really learned a lot myself right there. So that will help in my fitness business, actually, because I like to give a few tips, and I do have a few older women in my classes. So I learned a lot today. So what I will do, I'll look forward to our next podcast on the mental depression in health. And I hope the viewers enjoyed this, and I hope they'll look forward to our next podcast.
Yes, I look forward to it too.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Kathryn, and we'll speak to you on our next podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that podcast, especially the concept of the 7 dwarfs that Kathryn explained. I thought that was really good. I hope there is a lot of information that will help all you ladies out there. Don't forget, on our next podcast, we are doing a podcast on mental health of menopause. So I just want to say thank you very much. And also, to round off, to give you my website address, it's www.celiajohnson.online. And if you click on there, there is a fantastic fat loss package for you. I've got 3 fat loss videos for you, and they're guaranteed to melt fat away. And also I have another podcast for you to give away, and that is on a podcast which will be explaining on emotional eating. And the next one is the 10 top tips of female fat loss, and there you'll be getting a few tips on how and why you should not starve yourself, on how and why you should keep your nutrition clean, and which type of cardio intensity you should do. So just a couple of tips there that is very useful, but we will be explaining 10 top tips. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. Leave me your comments, and I will gladly get back to you. So take care for now, and see you on the next podcast. Thanks for listening. Bye.